This is for you if you're either just getting started on your path with your nonprofit, whether you're already an established 501c3 or not, you have a mission, you have a cause, you have a direction and a path that you're on. If that's you, you're in the right place. Maybe you're here and you're more like me, who has been on this path with your nonprofit for some time. I'm actually celebrating my 13th year as a nonprofit founder. Park Project Inc. will be 13 years old this September, and it's crazy to me, right? But I feel that today, in this moment in time, it feels like a fresh start, or at least it certainly has since 2020, and we'll get into that story in a little bit. So if that's you, you're in the right place. Maybe you're here and you're an established nonprofit. You've been at this path for a long time, and you're here to maybe go faster, get there in a smarter, less stress kind of way. So which one are you? Which one best describes you? 1, 2, or 3? Tell me in the chat. Who's in the house? We got ones. Annette, 1. Oh, that's surprising. I know you've been at this nonprofit path for a long time. I thought you were like 3, girl. Teach me something new. Teach me how to get there faster. But maybe you're like me and we're starting all over again. I love it. All right, great. Whichever number you identified here, just like sometimes you're in the right place, okay? Because here's what's happening. Let's calm our brain down in case you've got some questions before we dive in. We're going to be together for 90 minutes or less, quite possibly less, because it's a small group of us, which is awesome. I am a zero time wasting kind of woman, so we will not be wasting anyone's time. This is live and interactive, so you can choose to turn your video on. I love to see you. Hi, Eileen. You can have your video off. That's cool too. But I do ask that you're engaged in the chat, or you could use your emojis as well. You're already showing me you know how to use the chat and the emojis. You can throw a little thumbs up, a little heart, and that shows me you know how to use them too, and that we're here together, okay? I am here to be of service. And if you're wondering, is this like, what kind of a presentation is this? Is she going to sell me something? Yes. I'm going to ask you for 5 minutes of your time at the end to share with you a special invitation that I'm super excited about. And I do hope that we get to work together. But if not, I hope that this was still a really valuable use of your time. This is for content, connection, community building. And again, I'm here to be of service. I allotted time at the end for Q&A at the end of the presentation so that we have a clean recording of the training. I do intend to put a replay out. I've gotten great feedback about this webinar, so I will be sharing the recording afterwards. So I will open up the mics at the end though, so be prepared to either chat using your voice or in the chat, ask any questions that you have. In this webinar today, you're going to discover the smartest path to sustainable growth for your nonprofit. My choice of words is intentional. The smartest path to sustainable growth for your nonprofit. We're also going to discover the #1 mindset shift to amplify your impact and your income. If we don't change this one mindset as a nonprofit founder, we will not be profitable or make the impact that we wish to make. So we're going to discover that here in this webinar. I'm also going to share the top 3 mistakes that keep nonprofit organizations stuck, stagnant, and stressed. And the whole point of this webinar is to show you a proven path to ignite awareness, boost engagement, and skyrocket your fundraising efforts starting now. Not next year, not a 5-year plan, but we can actually be on this path starting right now. So here we go. Let's dive on in. If you're a nonprofit founder in any stage, you're probably wanting to grow in one of these 3 areas. 1, you want to increase awareness, right? You want more people to know about your organization and your cause. If that's one, if that's you, put the #1 in the chat. You're here because you were wanting to grow your engagement. You want a bigger engaged following of donors, volunteers, supporters, right? You want more engagement from your team, from those that support you. If that's you, put the #2 in your chat. Or you're here because you want to increase your fundraising. At the end of the day, you're here because you want to learn what's the path to profit. I want to raise more money for my nonprofit so that I can make the impact that I want to make. Which one of these 3 are you here for? Eileen says 3, fundraising. Yes. 1, 2, or 3. If you're 1, 2, and 3, you could put 1, 2, and 3 in the chat, right? Who's here for more awareness, more engagement, and more funds? Yes, exactly. You know, if I had a magic wand and was able to grant you any wish that you wanted, share with me in the chat, what would you wish for as it relates to your awareness of your brand, of your mission, of your nonprofit? If I had a wish, a magic wand, right, to give you any wish that you wanted, and to give your nonprofit the awareness that you want, what would that be? I want you to think about that for a moment. I'm going to put some little reflective music on here because I really want you to consider this. If I had a magic wand, what are you looking for as far as awareness? If I had a magic wand, what would the engagement in your nonprofit look like? What engagement are you after? If you want to increase engagement, what would you wish for? And if it's fundraising, if I had a magic wand, how much money are you trying to raise? Consider that. And please share in the chat. Gigi's ready with her share, knowledge of where to get funds quickly to support my community. And she's wanting to raise $100,000 to start. Wonderful. Great. That's clear. Who else? Whenever you're ready. Okay, wrapping up on this. If you're still thinking of your answer, feel free to chime it in the chat at any time. Remember, at the end of the presentation, we will have time to chat, okay? So no pressure, but that was important, right? If I had a magic wand, what would you wish for as it relates to your nonprofit's awareness, engagement, and funds? Right? It's important to actually consider that and not go right into all of the lack, right, of I don't have, right, the awareness, the engagement, and the funds for my nonprofit yet. Let's start with success in mind. Let's start with, if I had a magic wand, what do I want in these categories of awareness, engagement, and fundraising? So important. And the reason that I wanted to start there is because, listen, my friends, I get it. I know what it's like to have a cause and something that you're passionate about, go on this path of starting a nonprofit business and feel that there's these huge boulders, these huge rocks, right, in your path. I totally get it. You know, I know what it's like to kind of get started on that path and be excited about the road trip, right? Be ready to make the impact that you want to make. And along the way, feel like, okay, that's a road closure. I've got to go ahead and detour this way. I know what it's like over the past 13 years to feel that you're making progress, but nowhere near as fast as you want, right? You feel like you're just stuck in traffic all the time. And there's so much competition, right? From other organizations raising money all year long. I know what it's like to feel that you're constantly going, but it feels like you're just spinning your wheels and getting nowhere. Right? And I promise you that over the past 13 years as a nonprofit founder, a social entrepreneur, about to celebrate my 15th year in business this October, I can tell you, I get it because I have burned up and crashed many times along this path. And what I've learned is practically what I'm here to share with you today. The number one mindset shift that I had to discover for myself, and it might seem pretty obvious, but nonprofit doesn't mean no profit. Being a nonprofit business, the only thing that separates my nonprofit business, Park Project, from my for-profit business, Marley Q LLC, is a tax code, right? And we have a bookkeeper in the house who can speak to that way more than I could. But when I really understood about a decade into my journey, that the only difference between running a for-profit business and a nonprofit business is a tax code, right? I was treating both businesses completely differently. Marley Q, this is where I get paid. This is where I make impact, but in return, excuse me, in return for a check for payment, right? And here is my nonprofit. These are things that I do because I want to, and I don't want to receive anything in return, right? And I was treating both like completely different entities, when in reality, I really needed to be treating my nonprofit business like a business that is seeking profitability at the end of the year. Because the only difference with my for-profit business, at the end of the year, that profit, that net profit, gets dispersed to me and business shareholders if I had any, right? I'm 100% owner of my business. So it all goes to me, right? But in my nonprofit, the net profit at the end of the year goes back into the impact that we're here to make, right? It doesn't get dispersed out to anyone. It goes back, it gets reinvested into your mission and your cause. So really, my aha was that, or that mindset shift was, I need to start treating my nonprofit business as seriously as I treat my for-profit business, right? And if I can ask your permission to brag for just a few moments, if you know my acronym for brag, throw it in the chat. But if you don't, if you're watching live or on the replay, brag is an acronym for be real and grateful. So do I have your permission to brag? After I drink this little bit of water, because I keep coughing. I apologize. I've been speaking a lot, so my voice is a little hoarse. Brag, be real and grateful. Yes, thank you for permission. I am a happy woman today here in front of you. I am healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm successful. I am a happy wife to a man who I will celebrate my 10-year, wedding anniversary next year. I'm a happy mom of 2 baby boys, 5-year-old and an almost 3-year-old, right? Today, I feel more healthy, wealthy, and successful than I have in my entire life, right? So if I can just kind of flash back, because it's easy to see today, whether it's on social media or in my email or you're just in my world and on my podcast, etc. It's easy to say like, wow, Marley, I see you, you're crushing it. You're doing this, you're doing that. It's so awesome to see how much you've grown and yada, yada, right? Which is amazing. That's great. But I want to take you back to when it wasn't like that, because it's important to kind of pause and reflect on the path and the journey, right? This woman on the left in 2008 was working for the city of Doral. The city of Doral and local government. Actually, my first job ever with a salary and benefits right out of college, actually, I was still in college, was with the American Cancer Society. After spending about 5 or 6 years throughout high school and college working on the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life event, which was the first community building, fundraising, philanthropic event that I had ever been a part of and had helped to start in my community of Miami Lakes and on campus at FIU. That was the first event where I ever kind of fell in love with this vehicle and the power that events have to bring people together. Even if the cause is something like cancer and something so difficult to deal with, here we have an event that is a powerful vehicle to bring people together to share hope and inspiration and raise money and build support. And I was just so inspired by this that after volunteering for about 6 years, again, becoming the founder of the FIU Relay, which till this date, almost 15 years later, is one of the largest student-ran philanthropic events in all of South Florida. I'm very proud of that event. The American Cancer Society offered me a job and I worked for ACS for a brief period of time. One of my relays was the City of Doral Relay. And I ended up being recruited by the city, and I worked for the City of Doral for about 3.5 years between 2006 and 2009. And this was me. And I was incredibly unhealthy, unwealthy. I was actually broke and near bankruptcy at this point in my life. And I was incredibly stressed all the time, right? And if you fast forward to 2018, and of course I was incredibly overweight. If you see, you know, my nice little rolls here and my double chin. And in 2018, I have many more, a big roll because I was pregnant and I weigh about the same, but I am incredibly healthy, wealthy, and successful in that picture on the right. My husband and I, once I quit the city of Doral and kind of quit my toxic relationship with working in local government, I started off on my own path as an entrepreneur, as a social entrepreneur in January of 2010. Along with my husband who joined me on the entrepreneurial journey, about 2 years later, we started together Park Project, which is our nonprofit organization. And our mission is to spread kindness worldwide. Park is an acronym for Perform Acts of Random Kindness. And we've been inspiring people to perform acts of random kindness through the power of events since 2010. It all started with a birthday party for a cause. And the following year, 2011, was the 10th anniversary of 9/11. And I decided to put together a 5K, a fundraising 5K for our servicemen and women and their families, right? On the 10th anniversary of this terrible tragedy in our history, I wanted to actually create an event that inspired people to come together to celebrate and honor and remember the heroes who ran towards, right? Like the tragedy and the terror, keeping us and our rights like safe and protected. So it was a beautiful effort, totally philanthropic, totally volunteer driven, 100% grassroots event in less than 3 months without any, this was September of 2011, without any email list, any social media following whatsoever, any access to sponsors or grants or paid staff in any way. Totally volunteer driven. And in under 3 months, we were able to produce the 5K Freedom Run and Park Festival in the city of Doral. That event inspired over 600 park participants to run, walk, jog, roll on the track. And together we raised well over $13,000 for 5 local nonprofit organizations in South Florida that served our servicemen and women. We were on the front page of the Herald. That event won me a Biz Bash award for Event Fundraiser of the Year. 2 years later, we applied for the Miami Herald Business Plan Challenge and won. The event morphed into the 5K Park Fest, the event on the right. The 5K Park Fest was an event not just now for our servicemen and women, but we turned it into a platform, a vehicle, a virtual vehicle where all nonprofit organizations can benefit from the power of a 5K event that they didn't have to plan. So they would use our website and our platform to register their teams, register their cause, pay, I think it was a $40 registration fee, and we would split it 50-50. In the 3 years that we produced that event in the city of Miami Beach and in Virginia Key, we were able to inspire thousands and thousands of participants. And we raised over $50,000 donated to dozens of nonprofit organizations and schools and charitable causes here in South Florida. All volunteer driven, amazing effort of kindness, the most beautiful event and successful event, right? From the outside, right? Looking at it. But in the back, that event in October of 2016 was the crash and burn scenario behind the scenes for Marley Q. I went completely mute and silent and hermit crab for about 2 years, trying to recover from serious burnout, mental exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, physical exhaustion, migraines constantly. I was not well. Took me a while to recover from that. My husband actually is the one that I have to thank for it, because I would have continued on that path. I would have just said, hey, you just need to figure out and keep going, right? The cause is too important. People need you now more than ever. We need kindness in this world. This isn't the time to, to quit. You've got to keep going. And he sat me down on our 2nd year wedding anniversary and said, hey, I don't want us to do this anymore. I was like, what? What do you mean you don't want? What do you, on our anniversary with champagne in our hand at the top of the Epic Hotel in like downtown Miami? We have champagne. He's like, hey, we need to talk. I don't want to do this anymore. what? And he said, I want us to not keep doing the park project and your 5K Park Fest and the awesome toy drive and all these beautiful charitable things that are on your plate that are stressing you out and burning you out. And it's beautiful, but it's not bringing in any profit. And we're kind of struggling and we want to start a family. So I don't want to do this anymore. I want to spend all that time and energy on us and kind of getting ourselves to the financial place that we want to be. And I want to start a family. I was like, I had two options. This was like young into my yoga and mindfulness journey. But I was so grateful that I had enough awareness where I was listening and I heard both voices in my head. One, throw the champagne in his face and be like, how dare you, try to control me and tell me what to do, that I can't do my nonprofit. I could do that. I could go that route easily. I'm a hot-blooded Cuban. Or I could listen to the voice of reason and the wiser part of me that was really listening and realize that it's asking me to spend more time and to start a family, right? And that this needs to be profitable in order for it to be sustainable, or I'm going to die. And he wants to have this long, beautiful life with a family with me, right? So I chose to hear it that way. And we started trying to have a family. First time around, I did unfortunately have a miscarriage. It took me a little while to kind of bounce back from that. I was in a little bit of a rut, but we did bounce back. And by February of 2018, I was on stage at a TED Talk sharing that kindness is your superpower. And I started to brag, right? A little bit about the impact that we were making, my mission, my cause, why this was so important to me. I did this event while 3 months pregnant, wanting to vomit on that little red rug and shaking, holding like my bladder, needing to pee every like 15 minutes. I was so nervous, but I did it. And that TED Talk to this date continues to make an impact, Eileen, you were in the audience watching this live. I remember like it was yesterday, and it was so special. And I think this is where I became aware of the power of virtual. This was the first time that I had ever made my message, my mission to spread kindness worldwide, public in a virtual platform, especially like TED. Right? That kind of sprung, even though I had already been, doing events and emceeing and speaking for many years, doing that TED Talk in 2018 kind of sprung my career as a keynote speaker and inspirational speaker, right? And a leadership trainer. And I began going into companies and speaking to their teams about the importance of kindness at work and communication and even how we relate with time, all with the basis of kindness. And then everything is going great until what, my friends? Everything is going great until 2020, and we are all baffled at what is going on. In the span of a week, the business that I had been building for over a decade was gone. Right. And my husband, who's also an entrepreneur with me, a musician, all of his events and his income is gone. And while this is happening, I have a 1.5-year-old child, and I am about 3 or 4 months pregnant at that point. So change of plan, right? Change of plan. And I needed to pivot quickly. And here, the path that I started in 2020 was truly the path to profit that I'm here to share with you today. So thanks for staying with me on this story, because what allowed me to pivot and as quickly as I did, well, it didn't, it was a pandemic and it was tremendous fear, right? Tremendous fear. But it was honestly being able to press pause, allow myself to cry it out. I had the ugliest cry of all time on my yoga mat, like surrender pose, boogers, everything, puddle of tears, just cry it out. And then I basically walked myself through my own process that I had been walking my clients through for, a decade prior. I sat down with my husband in our living room and our dining table, and I'm like, hey, we've got to create like our smartest path, our smartest path to profit now. Like we have to figure something out now or we're in trouble. We didn't have any savings. We had just moved. Again, we had just a baby, all these things. And we had to do it quickly. So I will shamefully admit that up until that moment, even though I call it my smartest is the acronym for my planning framework. Up until that point, I had not applied my own framework to my business and my own events the same way that I do for my clients, or that I had done for my clients and have achieved massive success for others using, my planning method. I had not done it for myself, right? And that's shameful, but it's the truth. And that was the moment that changed everything, because March 2020 was the craziness. And by April of 2020, my husband and I had launched Time to Be Kind with Marley Q podcast from our living room. And if you can imagine a small 2-bedroom apartment, you walk in through the door, there's a dining table, there was my studio, and there was my couch and the sliding glass door. Like we were crammed, my studio was crammed in between my dining room table and my living room couch. And my child, in the crib sleeping at night, and we are in the closet recording these podcast episodes. Craziness, but we did it. And season 1 of Time to Be Kind with Marley Q put out 30 really inspirational episodes. You can listen to Time to Be Kind on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the things. Season 2 is out now. And we started this like a month later. Within the same time, I'm like, all right, right here in this living room. So to the right of my studio, in my living room on a little kitchen tray table and boxes over here. I'm blocking the boxes, but basically my iMac computer and my TV, a TV tray table, I began teaching leadership training workshops and retreats and yoga classes from my living room, right? So I went all in and I took the biggest leap of faith that I had ever taken in myself and my mission and my dreams to date. And listen, I am someone who just shared with you how I've taken a few leaps of faith, right? Back when I started with the city of Doral, I quit my job. I quit my toxic relationship. I dropped 30 pounds. I mean, I changed my entire life. In 2008 was like the big recession, right? Or people, it was another like financial recession at that time. And I think the reason why 2020, I was able to pivot so fast is because I had already gone through that in 2008. So I'm like, all right, all I need to do is sit your butt down, pause, plan, think about this like strategically and create the smartest, plan of action to move forward. And that's what I did. And I took the biggest leap of faith, investing $10,000 that I did not have. I have screenshots of my bank account to prove it, because this will all be part of my story one day, right now, as I'm sharing with you. I did not have the money to pay for this $10,000 coaching program, but I jumped in because the people that were running this Leap Mastermind program were the pioneers in virtual events. The people behind the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within events, the Dean Graziosi, all these huge, the Grant Cardones, all these big influencers and speakers and coaches that are out there leveraging the power of virtual events. This coach, my coach that I paid $10,000 to, are the people making that happen for them. So I'm like, you know what? I'm the kind of person, like, I have to go all in. So I went all in, and I have been a part of this mastermind for the past 2 years. And what I've learned, I've been able to implement in my own business to get me to the point where today I feel healthy, wealthy, successful as a mom of 2. And everything that I shared with you was because I leveraged the power of virtual events. So I went virtual fast. I became the podcast host. Like I said, I started doing virtual keynote speaking and emceeing from my living room. I started an online course called The Best Way to Stress Less, bringing in all of my yoga, mindfulness, and wellness into a super simple to digest and consume 6 video, hour-long course to help people through this pandemic, through a period where we're probably experiencing unprecedented stress. Try to bring in a self-care practice where you don't need to go to the gym. You don't need to go, do anything outside of yourself to take care of your mental health and well-being. I started teaching, like I said, yoga and classes from my living room floor, professional development workshops, leadership training, team building retreats, and multi-day summits and educational conferences like my own that we launched in May of 2022 called the Mankind Summit. And I'm so grateful that in the audience, we have Gigi Diaz, who was our MC, woo, woo, in the house for the inaugural event. And Eileen in the audience, who's our sponsor for our 2nd annual this year. I love it, right? And the Mankind Summit was really where I began to understand for myself, not just for me doing it for other people, right? But putting this into practice for myself, just how impactful leveraging virtual events was, not just for my business, for my for-profit business, but also for my non-profit business as well. At the Mankind Summit is where I launched my Kind Crew Plus, which is my online membership and community, which over the 2 years of the Mankind Summit, we registered over 200 people from 4 different countries. That's a global impact, people, already right off the bat. And I began to realize, wow, you've spent over a decade making really great impact here locally in South Florida, because I had been closed up until that point to do anything video and virtual related because I didn't like it. I didn't like the path. It made me feel uncomfortable, right? So here, after doing the Mankind Summit and kind of putting all of this virtual event practice into my own business, that's really where I had kind of like my breakthrough. Like, all right, I think I can bring Park Project and my nonprofit off the shelf, which I had been on the shelf since that really important 2nd year anniversary conversation with my husband, right? And in that span of 6 years of not focusing on my nonprofit business and focusing on my for-profit business first and my own health and wellness and my family, brought me to the point where now here today, I'm like, whew, all right, let's go. Now's the time to implement the same strategy for my nonprofit and extend this invitation to others. Because my friends, why am I sharing all of this? Because the truth is that there are many paths to grow your nonprofit, and it can be hard, confusing, lonely, stressful, and exhausting along the way. There are so many paths, from donation, crowdfunding, grants, sponsorship, events. The category of events alone has a ton of different paths. And there was a point in time along my journey where I really got to the point where I was so exhausted, where I crashed and burned, where I had absolutely nothing left. It was so much of a sacrifice at that point where I was going to give up. And to get me, Marley Q Casanova, to quit on my nonprofit and on my philanthropic projects was kind of a wake-up call, you know? And this lady doesn't know it, but that sign that she made for my event that says, keep going, I looked at that picture many times along this path so that I didn't give up. And making that leap to virtual events may sound like not even a big deal, but for me, it was a really, really big deal. And it really ended up being the revelation for me that the path to success was leveraging virtual events. So let's just address the elephant in the room, right? Because if that voice in your head is telling you, oh, all right, fine, virtual events, I'm inspired by your story, Marley, that's amazing. That you've been able to rebuild your business from zero, or negative, actually, because I was in debt in 2020. So from negative to today, where I am on track to surpassing, 6-figure goal, doing that solely through leveraging the power of virtual events to increase my influence, my impact, my profitability, right? But if that voice in your head, if you're on board with that, you're like, all right, that's cool, I'm on board for this path. But your head's like, oh, I hate Zoom meetings. I'd rather hide than go live. I can't do virtual events. Or worse, you're doing the comparison. I'm not like you, Marley Q, right? If you're doing that right now, I want you to check your brain. Maybe your voice is saying, okay, fine, but I'm not techie. I don't have a fancy setup like you. I don't have, a studio or lights or a camera or a mic or anything fancy. I didn't either. I showed you my first setup. I don't have an event planner or a tech team. Neither did I. I had my husband. Thank God. I did have one person on the team besides myself. Or maybe your brain's saying, I know my people don't want to do virtual anymore, right? I am here to hopefully open your mind to the smartest path. Because if your goals include increasing awareness, engagement, and money for your cause, then these are the areas that I want to help you focus on and leverage virtual events to increase your visibility, your impact, and your profitability. Virtual events will increase your visibility, and that goes way beyond creating awareness. You don't want people to just know about your cause. You want to make sure that your cause, your mission, your impact is visible in the right audience, in the right spaces, right? You don't want just engagement. We're not here for just interaction and engagement. You want impact. You want invested individuals in your cause, right? That are working together to impact, right? And virtual events actually increase the level of visibility and engagement if you do them consistently, right? And it'll increase the level of engagement in your in-person events too, because if you use virtual events, people are going to be craving the in-person interaction, right? And profitability, right? We're not just after like raising money, and let's just raise money all year long. We really want to increase the profitability of the money-making activities that your nonprofit is doing, right? So actually being able to take a look at your current fundraising events or your current strategies to raise money, and how do we increase the profitability of those efforts? And my claim is that using virtual events is the smartest path to increase the profitability of your nonprofit's fundraising efforts, right? Where you can get more success with less stress. That's the most important part. That's what I can absolutely guarantee you after being on this path. This was like the journey that I kind of shared with you on this one path, right? For so long, I've learned that the path to profit with less stress is virtual events. Because you may not be on board if you're kind of stuck in the old world and the old ways like I was, right? Again, I was on this path from the year 2000 to 2020. That's 20 years, people, on the old world, the old path, the old way of using, right, only strictly in-person events to make an impact, right? These are the 3 mistakes that I shared with you. I was going to share with you. I was going to discover, like, we're going to discover these 3 mistakes. That's where we're at. You may be guilty of one of these mistakes, just like I was, right? Stuck in the old world or in your old ways. And you're like, oh, but virtual like sucks. I don't want to do virtual. There's Zoom fatigue. And like, I hate Zoom meetings. If you're there, I was there too. Right? These are not Zoom meetings. These are virtual events, even experiences, right? That are specifically designed to help people connect and create meaningful relationships and engage them and enroll them in your next step, right? I've applied this to not just my own business. I've seen it applied over and over and over and over and over and over again, a specific framework for virtual events that I am confident will work in the nonprofit field as well. I'm just the one to bring it here so that it can be made, available and we can grow together. Maybe the second mistake is that you're too busy, right? And we're just not scheduling time to plan the smartest way. I confess to you shamefully, right, that I was too busy doing the thing and doing the work and not really pausing and scheduling time, blocking time off on my calendar to pause and to plan things the smartest way. The smartest way, again, is my framework for planning, right? I hadn't done that for myself. I'm not saying you have to follow my framework, but maybe you're too busy and you're just not scheduling time to pause and really plan the best, and smartest path forward for you. Or number 3, we're not asking for help or funds consistently, right? These were the top 3 mistakes that I was making, that my nonprofit clients throughout the years, have made. And if you're, courageous to share in the chat, if you're guilty of 1, 2, or 3, that would be awesome of you too, right? But we can change that. That could all end today, right? We can kind of tap back in, right, to that superhero. For me, it started when I was 10 years old. If you're interested in listening to my TED Talk, just let me know in the chat and I can share the link, right? Not to use up this time for that story, but we can tap in to that inner superhero that wants to make an impact in the world. And we can start, on a brand new path, one that brings us closer to being profitable with our nonprofits so that we can make the impact that we want to make, right? And go the virtual event route 100% like I am. Maybe you're like, listen, the in-person events are an important part of my nonprofit, organization, their annual events. Great. I will teach you how to use virtual events to enhance the profitability of those in-person events, right? Or you're like, I've never done, virtual events, or I've done one or two, but they haven't been successful, right? Wherever you might be on that path, I have a special invitation for you. So like I promised at the beginning of the webinar, may I have 5 more minutes of your time to share something that I'm super duper duper excited about? Tell me yes in the chat if I have your permission. 5 more minutes. I see thumbs up. I see all. Great. because I'm so excited to introduce to you my VIP circle. My VIP circle, I will not disappoint you, is an acronym. Of course it is. VIP stands for Virtually Impactful Planning. My Virtually Impactful Planning Circle is a 3-month incubator, hand-selected nonprofits that are going to support each other in growing in these 3 very specific ways. Our VIP goals: visibility, impact, and profitability. We are going to work together for 3 months to increase your visibility, your impact, and your profitability. How are we going to do this? We have basically four things I'm going to share with you here that are included in my VIP Circle program. Okay, again, it's a 3-month program, August through October. We will have a kickoff call before the end of August. There is a 3-day virtual retreat, September 28th through the 30th. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time. Actually, the Saturday is a shorter day, but as far as time blocks, September 28th through the 30th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is a retreat for you and up to 5 of your team members, be they board, staff, volunteers, you pick. This 3-day virtual retreat is for you and up to 5 of your team members. Super duper valuable. I'll go into what we'll do at that 3-day retreat in a moment. I'm not going to leave you hanging after we have our retreat. I want to make sure that I'm hosting a call for additional coaching and accountability to make sure we're putting into action our plan, our smartest plan of action, that we're actually putting that into action. We will have that call before the end of October. We will have access, our VIP circle, to a WhatsApp chat for those 3 months so that I can send the doodle poll and we can select our kickoff call date and our post call date. This is the WhatsApp chat group where we're going to be able to share and support each other throughout this 3-month incubator. Okay, here's what you get all in one slide to make it easy, plus the value. I am not someone who exaggerates on value of things, but I did make a mistake here. I'm like, wow, that's an edit. These are actually really conservative numbers, all right, as to the value of this program. This is my beta. This is my founder circle. So I am really only sharing this exclusively to my email list and people who I am getting, personally connected with for this first round. So here's what you get: the 3-month small group mastermind to help you create and accelerate your path to profit. It's going to include that kickoff call so that we can get clarity on your VIP goals. Again, those VIP goals are your visibility goals, your impact goals, and your profitability goals. That is the point of the 3-day virtual planning retreat, to get crystal clear on that, to learn the smartest planning framework that you can apply to these goals and to any other goal within your organization. This 3-day retreat will provide the space for you and your team to get super clear on those goals, to get behind what needs to happen in order to execute on, this plan of action. So it'll serve as like a team building and planning retreat for you. That is over $3,000 value easily. Post event, we will have that coaching and accountability call. And like I said, the WhatsApp chat. I valued that at over $5,000. Like I said, it is well worth a lot more than that. For reference, I have a $2,500 service that's just a 3-hour planning workshop that costs this amount of money, to give you an idea. That's why as a coaching, as a small group, we're able to, and especially for my nonprofits, I'm able to offer it at a ridiculously low price. It will not be $5,000, but before I reveal my amazing offer to you, can I get real with you and just ask you a question? If all I'm asking you here for today was $5,000 and 5 dates on your calendar, would it be worth it to you to grow your visibility, the impact, and the amount of people that are involved in making this impact for your organization, and the profitability of your nonprofit? And we can do that in the span of 3 months by working together, you and me, one-on-one, and with a small hand-selected amazing group of nonprofit leaders. Would it be worth it to you? A $5,000 program? Yes or yes? Yes, of course, 100. It is a no-brainer, right? Yes. But of course, I'm here to give you an amazing deal because I actually do want something in return. I want testimonials and case studies from my founding members, right? So this is my exclusive invitation to you. For only $2,997, so under $3,000, with a one pay or a two pay option, you can join my VIP circle. We start this week with the WhatsApp chat so that we can schedule our August kickoff call together. I would request that you block off September 28th through the 30th on your calendar already and share with your 5 team members so you can block off that time, right? So that we can get started right away. And that is not all. If you are in, you can go on your dashboard, the same link that you used to join the webinar. You can go onto our dashboard and click the button that says, join VIP circle. But because I want to extra encourage you, and I love like fast action takers and people who are like, first to sign up to things. I love them so much that I want to reward you with something incredibly amazing and valuable. Today, if you join my VIP circle today, you get also for you and up to 5 members of your team access to my Kind Crew annual membership. And quickly, what you get as a Kind Crew member is so incredibly valuable. I'm so happy to see my Kind Crew members in the house. I love it. You get access to a monthly self-care date with me, the first Friday of every month. So this Friday, right, at 4 p.m. Eastern, we meet for an hour, maybe a little more, depending on how many of us attend, to practice self-care. I bring in my yoga, my mindfulness, and my wellness. We do a nice, relaxing, guided meditation to start and to end our time together. And the middle is for us to open our mics and connect. We pause and we reflect on the month. How are we doing on our goals? How are we feeling, right? We just give you time and space to do what I call a whiffle, which is what I feel like expressing moment, right? Just to share what's on your heart, your mind, your soul, as it relates to the last 30 days. And also to share a win, right? I call it a win-win. Share your win for the month, something that we can celebrate with you, and also what I need, so that you can get into the habit and the practice of asking for what you need. If you remember my presentation, that's one of the biggest mistakes that we make. We don't ask enough and consistently for what we need. So I provide the space to practice this together while we're creating community and building real meaningful relationships, right? I also give my Kind Crew Plus members quarterly planning retreats. These are 4-hour-long workshop style retreats, right? I call them retreats because we like retreat from everything else that we're doing and we're focused there for 4 hours so that we can apply the smartest planning framework quarterly, not just once a year, because we just plan once a year. Every single quarter, you have a planning retreat that you and your team can look forward to check in on your goals, to keep the momentum going, right? You also get access to all of my virtual events, including the Mankind Summit, like I mentioned to you, and access to my online courses, which include Best Way to Stress Less. And you get the replay videos of the last 2 Mankind Summit years as well, which is so incredibly valuable. You get all of that. I valued it at over $5,000. And if you join my VIP circle today, this is all you get: the kickoff call, the 3-day planning retreat, the post-retreat call, the WhatsApp chat, and my fast action bonus of membership to my Kind Crew for you and 5 of your team members. That is well over a $10,000 value. And I'm offering it to you today for $2,997, pay in full, or there's also a 2-pay option available. You can click the link to get started on the dashboard. Again, it's the same link that you use to access the webinar. And with that, I am turning it over to you. What questions do you have for me? You can unmute, you can throw it in the chat,